We are witnessing one of the largest infrastructure expansions since the Industrial Revolution. Artificial intelligence is creating the biggest electricity crisis this country has ever seen. It is also forming a huge opportunity for investors who get in early. Today I'm going to lay out what this is and share my favorite stocks to profit from it. Now, right now, there are 2,948 data centers running 24/7, 365 across the United States. And most people do not realize the scale of these operations or the massive amount of power they need to operate. This one, for Meta, which is Facebook, located near Portland, Oregon, spans 4.6 million square feet. That is the size of 70 NFL football fields. You could fit 100 Boeing 747 jets inside its walls. That's the scale of what we're talking about, and that's one. And no matter the size, it's important to know that every single one of these data centers is a power hog, and it has to be. Every photo you save, every tweet you send, every AI command you initiate gets processed by one or more of these crucial facilities. You see, progress comes with a cost. While today AI data centers consume roughly 4% of U.S. power supply availability, the Wall Street Journal reports it's on track to jump to 25% by 2030. A full quarter of all electricity produced in America will be needed to power AI models, including OpenAI's ChatGPT, Elon Musk's Grok, plus hundreds of new ones coming down the pike. Operating at full capacity, AI data centers could soon surpass the annual electricity usage of whole countries like Ireland, the Netherlands, and Sweden. And therein lies the problem, because today's power grid was designed in the 1960s and 70s. For a population half the size of America right now, it is simply not equipped to meet these colossal demands. But America is a nation of innovators, of entrepreneurs. We'll solve this problem like we have every other. The question is how? Where will the power come from? What will be the source of this power? And just as importantly, how can you invest to profit from this record expansion of energy production? The answer is crystal clear: nuclear power. Now, I've been talking about this opportunity in the nuclear sector for nearly 2 years now. This is the weekly market email I sent to my members in January of 2024, highlighting the nuclear space, discussing my favorite stocks to buy in this sector. NRG there has more than tripled since I recommended it. So has ISO, that small cap uranium miner. It's up 223% since then. Nuclear stocks are surging. Investors are beginning to realize what I'm sharing with you right now, and they are rushing to get in. Another stock in this area, one of my favorites, is NuScale Power, ticker SMR. NuScale builds small modular reactors specifically designed to power these AI data centers. So it perfectly meets this urgent demand, and investors who get in early stand to make a lot of money. I'm going to share several other stocks with you in just a moment. Now, the biggest deterrent to nuclear power, at least in my opinion, has been its potential danger. But despite what Hollywood might have you believe, nuclear is incredibly safe. Remember this place? This is 3 Mile Island, located on the Susquehanna River near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And in 1979, one of its 2 reactors partially melted down. A whole generation of hippie protesters came out of the woodwork and effectively ended all nuclear development for decades. But guess what? Despite 2 million people living in the nearby area, the U.S. Department of Energy has concluded that no injuries, deaths, or direct health effects were caused by the accident. Are you surprised? Now, yes, they were exposed to small amounts of radiation, but let me put that in context for you. The estimated radiation dose was about 1/6 of what you'd get from a typical chest x-ray. So not nearly as catastrophic as the mainstream media would like you to believe. And here's the big news. It turns out that 3 Mile Island is coming back online. It's reopening, and it will provide clean energy for Microsoft's data centers starting in 2028. The symbolism here is enormous. What was the site of the industry's greatest failure is now its place of rebirth. Microsoft has now secured a dedicated 100% nuclear facility for its use, according to the New York Times. In other words, they're taking all the power it puts out. And they're not the only ones doing this. Amazon Web Services closed a similar deal last year, acquiring a data center connected to Talon Energy Corp's nuclear power plant. This is the first time in history that someone could come in, go to a nuclear plant and say, we'll take all the energy you can give us. And deals like these are coming out at a time when Americans are showing growing support for nuclear energy. And when you think about it, it just makes sense. Nuclear plants can generate enormous levels of electricity using just small quantities of fuel, so they are way more efficient than other energy sources. This chart shows what I mean. A single pellet of uranium contains as much energy as 17,000 cubic feet of natural gas, 120 gallons of oil, and 1 ton of coal. Plus, it's emissions-free. And as I've said, it is exceedingly safe. This chart from Our World in Data blew my mind when I first saw it. It shows just how safe nuclear energy really is. Coal energy, for example, kills an average of 29 people per unit. Oil kills 18. Biomass, natural gas, hydropower, and even wind power kill measurably more people than nuclear at 0.03 deaths per unit. Solar is the only safer technology. And here's the thing. AI's tech titans don't want their data centers powered by fossil fuels. These guys all lean left. They'd have an uprising if they started powering these things with coal or oil. They need clean energy to prevent their carbon footprint from exploding, and nuclear energy is the answer. Even our politicians, who I think we can agree are far from being this country's best and brightest, are finally seeing the light. President Biden signed sweeping pro-nuclear legislation that even longtime skeptics agreed would lift the industry's fortune. President Trump has done the same. The ADVANCE Act streamlined permitting for new reactor designs, and it promotes deployment across the globe. All of this has been good news for cutting red tape and lowering license fees for these smaller, safer, and more efficient reactors. Now, one of the cornerstones, as you likely know, of my investing philosophy is to follow the money. Hedge funds, tech billionaires, industry titans, they are on the bleeding edge of innovation. They spend millions on research, and they typically invest early in these new technologies. And right now, the who's who of Silicon Valley is piling into the nuclear space. Bill Gates, he's a terrible human being. But he's also one of the richest men in the world. And he is sinking billions into what he calls the, quote, next generation of nuclear energy. He and his pal Warren Buffett are early investors in an innovative nuclear startup called TerraPower. He told Bloomberg, quote, I put in over $1 billion and I'll put in billions more. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, invested $375 million into a firm called Helion Energy, which is building a reactor in Everett, Washington. This is the biggest investment I've ever made, he said. Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal, has also invested $500 million in Helion Energy. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos recently poured $130 million into a nuclear company called General Fusion. Now, many of these are private companies, so unfortunately, you cannot invest in them even if you want to. But there are a dozen others that are publicly traded stocks that you can buy right now. Like Oracle, which is drawing up plans to power a new 800-watt data center with, quote, acres of Nvidia GPU clusters that will be used to train one of the world's largest AI models. At the COP28 Climate Summit in Dubai last year, the U.S., along with 21 other countries, decided their goal is to triple the global generation capacity of nuclear power by 2050. And this has our wealthiest entrepreneurs jumping all over the nuclear opportunity. But in my opinion, one small corner of the nuclear energy market is going to see the biggest returns. You see, all those billionaires I mentioned are investing in what they believe will be the star of the future: small modular reactors. In the not too distant future, You may look out your window to see a small nuclear reactor being transported inside the trailer of a big rig truck, on its way to being strategically and safely placed at underground locations in cities and towns from coast to coast. That, I believe, is the direction we're moving. Now, despite the name, these small modular reactors, or SMRs, they're not exactly pocket size. They weigh around 20 tons. They're also micro reactors as well. These are 100 to 1,000 times smaller than what we think of as these conventional nuclear reactors. But they still pack a massive energy punch. The power generated is anywhere from 50 to 300 megawatts, which is more than enough to power a small town, a small city. And that is enough horsepower to provide an AI data center with all the juice it needs. And because of their compact size, these SMRs and microreactors can be assembled and delivered almost anywhere. They can be installed into an existing power grid or remotely off-grid. Compare them with traditional reactors, and you'll see that these compact, ultra-modern reactors are smaller. Okay, typically these SMRs only need about 10 acres of land compared to the 800 plus acres needed for traditional reactor plants. They are low maintenance. These SMRs can run up to 30 years without the need for refueling. That's in stark contrast to these old school traditional nuclear plants that have to be refueled every 1 to 2 years. They are also safer. SMRs have simple designs. They use passive cooling systems, require less power, making them inherently safer to operate. They are portable. They can be built close to where the energy is needed and can even be transported elsewhere due to their smaller size and that modular design. Plus, they're cost efficient. SMRs require a lower capital cost due to their compact size. The price tag is an estimated $250 million compared to $5.5 billion for the big one, and prices will only come down as more investment flows in. Current projections say that to meet the demand of AI, we may need to build the equivalent of 40 nuclear power plants within the next 5 years. Popular Mechanics put out this article, and I believe they hit the nail on the head. It said, quote, "One day every home in America could be powered by a small nuclear reactor." And they are right. I believe we will see the United States powered almost exclusively by nuclear power in our lifetime because we need more power than ever. And the demand is only going to increase. Blockchain mining, data centers, AI, they're all huge power sucks, and they need a clean, renewable energy solution. Nuclear is the only one that makes sense. And for investors, the biggest opportunity is companies developing these small modular reactors. Listen, the AI boom has made investors billions over the last few years. But if you think you're going to strike it rich buying Nvidia today, think again. The company is worth over $4 trillion. Heads up, the move is over. That stock is not going to double again, at least not anytime soon. If you want a real shot at triple-digit gains, you need to get in front of the next wave of AI investment. And it is not microchips. It is power. Now, there are a dozen stocks that, in my opinion, stand to benefit most from this shift toward nuclear power. This is my list. These 12 stocks represent what will likely be some of the top performers in the coming years. There is also a nuclear exchange-traded fund. The VanEck Uranium and Nuclear ETF, the ticker is NLR, holds a basket of nuclear and uranium stocks. Pretty much all those ones I just shared with you, as well as a couple others. So if you want to make this easy, you can buy this in any investment account. One ticker, one trade is going to give you broad exposure to the entire sector. I actually own this in my personal retirement account. Now, as always, you'll want to consult your financial advisor before making any investment decisions. I'm not telling you what to do, but nuclear stocks, especially those developing small modular reactor technology, in my opinion, represent one of the hottest investment opportunities available today. Now, if you have not already done so, one small favor, hit the like button. I think it helps. I don't know, but for sure, hit the subscribe button down over there in the corner. That way, these videos will show up in your feed, and you'll be sure not to miss what could be another valuable update in the future.